I'll take the official questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete.
There's an odd thing going on inside ESPN headquarters right now. Disney executives are holding urgent meetings regarding the WNBA behind closed doors. And you might be surprised by the explanation. There are rumors circulating about a single player whose treatment has caused a corporate crisis that has the potential to permanently alter women's basketball. Why would the largest sports network in the world suddenly doubt their multi-million-dollar investment? What did they find that made them reevaluate everything? Caitlin Clark is involved in the solution, but not in the way you may expect. It had nothing to do with how she played on the court. Billion-dollar businessmen are having trouble sleeping because of what's going on off the court. What precisely do they see that we do not? Why do sources claim that ESPN is taken aback by the league in which they have made an investment? And this is the actual query that no one is posing. When the corporation in charge of sports media decides they've had enough, what happens? No one's reporting can fully capture the complexity of the truth. And the WNBA's survival over the next 5 years may depend on what happens next. Allow me to demonstrate what's actually happening. This is no longer only drama. This has to do with business. Additionally, people lose their jobs, leagues lose financing, and players lose their paychecks when billion-dollar firms begin to lose patience. Let's examine the specifics of what goes on behind closed doors, the reasons ESPN is done being polite, and the implications for the WNBA's future. Let's take a moment to go back and discuss why ESPN is even interested in the WNBA. Because, let's face it, WNBA ratings were poor prior to Caitlin Clark joining the league. The figures are accurate. The number of viewers was low. On hidden stations, games were aired. The casual sports fan was not paying attention. Everything changed after Caitlin Clark was drafted. Millions of people watch games when Caitlin Clark performs. Games with the Indiana Fever, record-breaking numbers, and her premier performances all became must-watch television. All of a sudden, fans who had never given the WNBA much thought were filling arenas, purchasing jerseys, and setting reminders. ESPN management reportedly became aware of this right away. They witnessed an increase in ratings. They witnessed an explosion in social media activity. They observed goods flying off the shelves. They concluded, this is what we paid for. This is where things start to get interesting though. The ratings drastically decline when Caitlin Clark is not featured or doesn't play. When she's not playing, viewership drops by 60 to 70%. Without Caitlin, games have returned to their pre-2024 numbers, which no one was paying attention to. Consider yourself an executive at ESPN. For a league that only receives viewers because to one player, you recently spent millions on television rights. You're currently witnessing that league treat her as if she were disposable. You're witnessing other gamers make crude remarks about her. You're witnessing officials overlook blatant infractions. As Caitlin is being targeted game after game, you are witnessing the commissioner remain silent. Would that investment satisfy you? ESPN is reportedly unhappy, according to insiders. Not at all. Due to the fact that they did not fund a league that was having trouble and had inconsistent ratings. Caitlin Clark was paid for by them. What precisely did ESPN pay for if the WNBA is unable to keep her safe, or worse, if they lose her? Let's now discuss the actual events taking place on the court. Because there is more to this than just business. This concerns a player who is being singled out, treated disrespectfully, and put in danger while the league does nothing. Every single incident has been captured on camera by fans. What does the WNBA do about the hard fouls, the elbows to the face, and the offensive trash talk? Nothing. The commissioner makes general declarations about upholding the game's integrity, but he never tackles the clear issue. Caitlin Clark is receiving different treatment. According to reports, ESPN management have been keeping a careful eye on these instances. They've seen the viral clips of Caitlin getting knocked to the ground with no foul called. They've seen the post-game interviews where she had to play it casual while everyone knows she just got targeted. They've seen the welcome to the league narratives being pushed by analysts who should be calling out unsafe play. And here's the thing that ESPN executives grasp that the WNBA doesn't appear to. Caitlin Clark is not just a player. She's the product. She's the reason casuals are tuning in. She's the reason sponsors are calling. She's the reason the WNBA is even relevant in mainstream sports debate right now. But picture a scenario where Caitlin gets gravely wounded because of a dirty play that wasn't called. What if she were to miss half a season? What if she becomes so dissatisfied with the course of treatment that she begins to think about other options? According to insiders, ESPN is contemplating these possibilities and is afraid because what would happen to those ratings if Caitlin Clark failed or, worse, left? What is the outcome of that investment? The solution is straightforward. It is a tank. According to those with knowledge of the matter, ESPN has already begun making predictions. How might Caitlin Clark's absence affect WNBA viewership? And the figures are horrifying. We're discussing returning to pre-2024 levels, which could be worse now that the league has been made public. Because of Caitlin, casual fans gave the WNBA a chance. Why would they return if she was gone? This is where the true conflict arises. The question that the WNBA commissioner ought to have asked from the start is allegedly being asked by ESPN executives. Why are we permitting the destruction of the sole valuable asset? And they're not receiving satisfactory responses. According to reports, there have been tense conversations between ESPN and the WNBA, the kind where lawyers are present and terms like breach of contract and failure to protect the investment are used. These conversations are not friendly or partnership discussions. Because many people don't grasp this. There is more to ESPN's agreement with the WNBA than just game broadcasts. It has to do with airing worthwhile games. Games that viewers are interested in. Games that support ESPN's advertising rates. ESPN can claim that the WNBA isn't fulfilling their half of the bargain if the star player is hurt, sidelined, or forced out of the league. Supporters believe that this is the precise direction that things are going. ESPN didn't spend that much money on a self-destructive league. They paid for Caitlin Clark's rise and ratings. Additionally, they have the option to leave if they are not receiving what they paid for. What would happen, then, if ESPN decided they had had enough? The nuclear option. What is it? They end the agreement. Obviously, this isn't easy. Attorneys are involved. Negotiations are taking place. These agreements are complicated by a number of clauses, provisions, and legal details. Here's the truth, though. Disney, one of the world's most prominent media companies, finds a way out of agreements. Additionally, sources indicate that they are currently considering their alternatives. Imagine the WNBA waking up tomorrow to read the headline, ESPN to terminate WNBA broadcasting deal amid concerns over league management. What comes next? The money stops first. According to reports, the WNBA's current TV contract is worth about $200 million spread over several years. Everything is funded by that money, including marketing, facilities, travel, and player compensation. The league faces severe financial difficulties in the absence of that check from ESPN. Second, panic sets in among other sponsors. What does ESPN's withdrawal mean for the future of the league? All of a sudden, other businesses begin to re-evaluate their investments. Sales of merchandise slow down. Because supporters believe the league is failing, ticket sales decline. Third, the players suffer since their salaries are reduced when the funding stops coming in. Benefits vanish. The goal of a long-lasting professional women's basketball league. It returns to being a dream rather than a reality. This is the cruelest part. Everything is avoidable. Caitlin Clark could have been shielded by the WNBA. They had the option to deal with the targeting. They could have made it very evident that risky behavior would not be accepted. The player who saved their league might have been valued by them. However, they didn't. ESPN execs feel deceived, according to insiders. They believed the WNBA would manage their business professionally, so they made a sizable investment in good faith. Rather, they are witnessing the internal collapse of a league while the commissioner pretends everything is all right. According to sources, ESPN has already begun making backup plans. Without the WNBA, how would their sports programming change? Could they use overseas leagues, college basketball, or other women's sports to occupy those time slots? Yes, is the response. They certainly could. Additionally, the WNBA is unable to just locate another ESPN. Women's basketball isn't being shown by several billion-dollar networks. The lifeline was ESPN. The league may not survive if they leave. Let's discuss what might happen in the future if insiders' predictions come true. In the first scenario, ESPN remains but calls for adjustments. In this case, ESPN coerces the WNBA by threatening to leave. They insist that player safety be addressed by the commissioner. They demand that Caitlin Clark be protected. They demand changes to how games are officiated and how discipline is handled. The WNBA, realizing they can't survive without ESPN, complies. Rules get enforced. Players who are unclean are suspended. The league made it plain that it will not put up with star targeting. Although this is the ideal situation, the WNBA must acknowledge their mistakes. And that doesn't seem likely given the way the commissioner has handled things thus far. In the second scenario, ESPN lowers their investment. Perhaps ESPN renegotiates instead of walking away entirely. They reduce the amount they are paying. They televised less games. They put games on less visible channels. The WNBA survives, but in a diminished state. Player salaries go down. The momentum of growth ceases. The league turns into a niche sport that fights for attention, just like it was before Caitlin Clark arrived. In the third scenario, the WNBA implodes and ESPN departs. Although this is the worst-case scenario, fans are speculating that it might not be impossible. ESPN withdraws. There isn't a similar offer from any other big network. Teams begin to fold, and sponsors go away. The league either completely closes or drastically shrinks. The saddest thing is that it was all preventable. The WNBA only needed to safeguard their most important asset. However, they prioritized politics and egos over business. Everyone now has to pay the price. The bottom line is as follows. ESPN is a company. Disney is an organization. Their investment in the WNBA was not motivated by social responsibility or charity. They invested because they saw a potential to make money. And that opportunity has a name, Caitlin Clark. If the WNBA can't protect her, can't promote her, and can't build around her, then ESPN has zero reason to stay. Both the ratings and the stats are truthful. There would be no investment without Caitlin. According to reports, time is running out. Executives at ESPN are observing. The commissioner must acknowledge that the league cannot be saved by virtue signaling and press releases. There's just one that will. Defending the golden goose. Because the WNBA won't simply lose a player if Caitlin Clark leaves or is expelled. Everything will be lost for them. The dream of a successful women's basketball league will come to an end when the checks stop clearing and the lights go out. The decision is easy. Keep Caitlin Clark safe or watch the league implode. What are your thoughts? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. Additionally, hit the subscribe button to remain up to date on anything related to Caitlin and the WNBA, as this story is far from. As all these conversations swirl and the pressure around the league continues to build, one thing is becoming clearer than ever. The future of women's basketball is standing at a crossroads. Whether it's rising ratings, corporate expectations, or the growing spotlight on athlete safety, this moment is bigger than one network or one player. It's a test of leadership, a test of priorities, and a test of whether the league is ready to evolve in a way that protects its stars and preserves its momentum. Whatever happens next, It will shape the direction of the WNBA for years to come. So if you want every update, every twist, and every behind-the-scenes change as this story continues to unfold, make sure you're locked in. Like, comment, and subscribe, because this conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.